Hello everyone, welcome back. So in the previous sections, we already went over the behavior of the supplies and the demand side of the market. So in this sections, what we're going to do is to combine the two into one single market and trying to study how they are going to interact with each other. Well, before we jump into the model, let's go over some of the terminology that we are going to use in these lessons. Well, first of all, we would like to describe there are two phenomenons in the market that could possibly happen. Number one is called the surplus in the market, or sometimes called excess supplied. So this phenomenon will happen when the quantity supplied of the goods in the market is greater than the quantity demanded. So in a simple term, what it means is when the firms and businesses produce a lot, but when the buyers does not have the motivation to buy all the quantity that the firm offer in the market. So there are some leftover, and that's why we have some surplus in the market. On the other hand, we also have a definition here called shortage, or sometimes people call it excess demand. So this is a condition when the quantity demand is greater than the quantity supply of the goods in the market. So in a simple term again, what we mean is when the firm provides a certain quantity of the goods for people to buy, and there are a lot of people actually motivated. They are very attracted to buy this quantity of the goods in the market. So the total number of goods want to be bought in the market is greater than what is being supplied in the market. And that's basically where the shortage comes in. Well, of course, except the two phenomena we just described. If the market is neither in the surplus nor the shortage, well then the market it's basically at the market equilibrium. So in this equilibrium, we actually have the market price driven to this market clearing price. So this price is special in our model because this is the price of the goods that driving a market clearing conditions. So what it means, it's basically the firm produce a certain quantity of the goods, and this is exactly the quantity that the buyers actually want to buy in the market at a given price. Well, there's also an equilibrium quantity, and that quantity pointing at that equilibrium's conditions where the total quantity the firm produced and the total quantity of the buyers want to buy the goods in the market, and it basically combined equals to each other. So finally, we also have the market equilibrium conditions, which means at the conditions where the quantity demand for the goods and the quantity supply of the goods is equal to each other. And on top of that, again, we talk about the conditions of equilibrium. This is basically where we describe the market has no tendency to make changes. So to show this market equilibrium conditions, we would like to use this graph right here. So we have learned about the behavior of the buyers, which is always represented by this downward sloping demand curve. And we also learned about the behavior of the supplier, which is presented by the upward sloping supply curve. Well, combining the two into the single graph, and there is a very obvious point that we are looking at right now. However, we want to first study why the markets will always converge to the equilibrium. Well, at this point, I would like to suggest let's look at the price of $80 for good X in the market. We know at this price point, well, the suppliers are going to be very motivated to produce the goods in the markets because they thought they can sell this product at a very high price and they can make so much money. On the other hand, because it's so expensive for the buyers to buy this product in the market, and not many quantity is being demanded at this price point. Well, given the fact of that, we actually see a different quantity of quantity supply and quantity demanded for the goods. And the difference between the two, in this case, 80 and 20, it's basically what we describe as the market surplus. So in this case, we have 80 units is being produced in the market and 20 units will be bought. So the surplus size will be 60 units. On the other hand, if the market actually priced it at $40, well, because the price is so low, there will be a lot of consumer want to buy this product because it's so cheap to buy. However, because the firm looking at this product and they think that it's not profitable, some of the firms may not even produce it. So the quantity supply in the market will be extremely low. And comparing the two quantity here on the graph, and we can see that there is a difference between the quantity supply and quantity demand. And in this case, well, we see a shortage in the markets. The firms will only produce 40 units of good eggs. However, the consumers in the market want to buy 60 units. Well, in either case, obviously, there will always be some people in the market that they are not going to feel happy. Well, where is the point where the market is going to be satisfying everyone's wants? Well, obviously, it's at this equilibrium price that we are looking at. So at this point, we know this is basically where the market is going to converge and satisfying the buyer side and the seller sides at the same time. Well, in the market schedule example, we can actually demonstrate how to find the market equilibrium. Given an example here, we actually have the market for pizza. We listed out the price of pizza, the quantity demand for pizza, the quantity supply of pizza, and also we actually given the informations about each price point and the given shortage and surplus quantity. Well, as you can see here, when the price is actually falling into a very low range, where the shortage happens, well, this will actually cause a shortage in the market and people would like to actually buy from the firms, but the firm cannot provide. And in some cases, some consumer might not even satisfied with the little quantity being offered in the markets and they start bidding up the price of the products. So they're willing to offer more, and then you know that there will always be someone on the demand curve, they are willing to pay a higher price on this product. So that's why you will see the pressure of the prices to keep pushing up. So the prices in the market will keep rising. On the other hand, if we see the prices of pizza is so high from the beginning, it will create a surplus. Firms are going to be panic when they see surplus because they don't want to see all this inventory stuck into their storage and not getting the money in returns. So what happened is the firm will start offering discounts and pushing the price down of the products. And you will start seeing the market prices keep falling. Well, we have the pressure from the low end and we have the pressure from the high end. And obviously, there will only be one place where the market is going to converge and stay there, which is the market equilibrium. And in this case, it's pointing at $14 and 26 units. Well, the graphical analysis is pretty much the same thing. Every time when we're trying to find the equilibrium in the markets on a graph, we are always looking at the intercept of the two graphs. We know whenever the price is above this equilibrium price, well, there will be a downward pressure on prices and forcing the equilibrium towards the markets toward the equilibrium. And when the prices are too low, well, the market is going to have the forces to actually push the price up until it reached the equilibrium. So what happened to price when there is a surplus or shortage? Well, intuitively speaking about, whenever shortage or surplus happens, firms want to get rid of the unnecessary inventory and they will start offering a lower price of the products and trying to get them out of the markets. On the other hand, when shortage happens, buyer is not going to get what they want. So some of this buyer who is willing to pay a higher price, who has a higher willingness to pay of the product, they will start offering a higher price to actually get the seller to sell the product to them. Well, when the seller actually realize they can actually raise the price, or when they can actually get a higher returns or profits from this transaction, they will start building those products in the markets. Well, in the study of equilibrium, there is one more tricky thing that we want to study. Well, we see the convergence of the market equilibrium. However, the market most likely will not stay at one equilibrium point forever, especially when you look at the real world around us. You hardly see that the price of gasoline is going to stay at one point. You always see fluctuations of those prices. So we want to understand why. How come the market prices are going to change if there is an equilibrium and we see the convergent powers? Well, of course, the only thing that you can actually think about here is for any change of the demand or any change of the supply in the markets, or in a simple sense, we are referring to any shift of the supply curve or demand curve will actually alter the change of the equilibrium price. Well, in this simple graph right here, I'm basically demonstrating when there is a demand increase in the markets, the market prices is going to go up. And also it drives the total number of transactions or equilibrium quantity to a higher numbers. On the other hand, when we have a supply curve falling, or we are basically meaning the supply decrease or shifting to the left, it also drives up the price of the goods in the market. However, it has a negative effect to the total number of transactions or equilibrium quantity. So either one way or the other, I think the change of the curve will give us a very good interpretations on the graph, knowing how the prices or quantity of transactions being changed with the change of the supply or demand. Well, at the end of the chapter, there are many different examples that you can actually read and trying to understand more about the equilibrium conditions in the markets. But I think for now, you should have a very good understanding about the concept of supply and demand and market equilibrium. So I will see you guys in the next videos. Goodbye.